Let's go to the MAX weather system right now, MAX 2, and let's take a look at what's going on across the area this afternoon. Of course, as we were looking at this weather yesterday, we really weren't expecting anything other than some garden variety thunderstorms. No, the other graphic, please. I think we were right on the first one going to MAX 2. That's the one we want to look at. We were not expecting severe weather, but what's happened is here in the area from about Fargo to the south and east is the skies have cleared just enough that we've gotten a little bit of instability into the air in this system. A lot of spin in the atmosphere, and that's been producing these tornadoes. This first tornado warning that you see right now is this one that is for an area between Beltrami and Crookston. There is now a ground observed tornado. You can see where that is right now on the velocity data. I'm going to actually go here into the system and draw a little line so you can see what it is that I'm talking about. It's right here in this area, northwest of Beltrami, well south of Crookston. But there is a very definite rotation in that part of the storm, and that is the reason for the tornado warning at this time. Back it up one here, and I'll show you the actual radar. It's kind of a cluster of little thunderstorm cells, but there's just so much spin in the atmosphere that these have fairly easily been able to develop a rotation, and almost as soon as these storms this afternoon have developed any strength at all, they are able to put down tornadoes. So far, most of the actual tornadoes that we've seen have been relatively small and fairly short-lived on the ground, but they nevertheless do pose a danger. So if you live right now in Crookston, you're okay, but in open country of Polk County, south of Crookston, northwest of Beltrami, and east of Climax, there does appear to be, right in this area that I'm showing you right here, a potential tornado, in fact, a ground-observed tornado in this area. I'm going to zoom in very tightly on this storm. So the area that we're talking about, just a couple miles northwest of Beltrami, that storm moving to the north. The other tornado warning is for this one. You can see the storm cluster of storms there just to the north and east of Mahnomen, between Mahnomen and Bijou, just a little bit east of there. We've actually got areas of two concern right now. The tornado warning, which is for a tornado that did touch down, is actually I'm going to draw it here. It's actually this little thing right here. That's the rotating area that has produced a tornado and is quite possibly on or near the ground right now. But there does seem to be a second little area of rotation just to the south or southeast of Mahnomen. If you live in Mahnomen right now, you should be doing one of two things, either taking shelter or being someplace where you can see the full sky and react to anything that descends down toward the ground. There is potentially a tornado developing in that area. And as I mentioned, there really are two thunderstorm cells, the one just east of Bijou and the other storm, which is just about over Mahnomen, the rotating part of that cell likely just a little bit to the south and east. So definitely a potentially dangerous situation. The purple coloring of the box indicates a tornado that has been in contact with the ground. So it's different from the usual garden variety radar detected tornado. Those you react to just as strongly, but this means that we actually know that this tornado did touch down. There is also a severe thunderstorm warning for down in Otter Tail County and a small portion of southern Becker County. This thunderstorm east of Rush Lake. So far, this one has not developed the kind of rotation that we've seen earlier, but right around New York Mills, there would be some potential for gusty winds and maybe some hail. I can put the hail on there right now, the hail detection, and right now, Doppler is indicating only small hail at this point with that storm near New York Mills, so hopefully that's all that will continue to be. But there is a severe thunderstorm warning. This severe thunderstorm warning for the area around New York Mills and Sabika, and just east of Perham, this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 5:30. This tornado warning currently set to expire at 5:15. That doesn't mean it won't be reissued. This is for that storm that is near Bijou. And the first tornado warning that I was touching on, which is south of Crookston, but kind of on a move now toward the northwest, maybe just a little bit west of Crookston, that tornado warning in effect until 5:30. Of course, a tornado watch remains in effect over the area until 7 o'clock tonight. That's all these times are approximate. That's the way severe weather goes. But the expectation is when we lose the heating of the day, we have fairly marginal instability with these storms. It's mostly because there's so much spin in the atmosphere that it's unlikely that these tornadoes are going to keep going that that much longer. Here's one look at a tornado. Photo credit to Rick Myra. This storm touching down north of Dilworth a little bit earlier this afternoon. I'm told this was about 3:30 for a potential storm in that area. And we have had some other pictures, and we'll try to get those to you as soon as we are able to this afternoon. We continue. Let's see. The tornado warning for southwestern Polk County continues. Let's focus in on that storm right now. This is because the tornado was observed on the ground. In Crookston right now, I think you're okay. This is not a problem in Crookston. Let me zoom in very tightly on where we are seeing this. And it looks like it's kind of the storm itself seems to be kind of falling apart just a little bit. But the way the rotation has been going today, I don't think that means it's over. This is the area, kind of an open country area, about halfway between Beltrami and Climax, moving to the northwest, and that storm continues. I've got another photo that I'm going to bring into the system now, and I'm going to show you another tornado picture that Tim has just brought in, so we can take a look at that here in 1 second. And bear with me here as I talk and chew gum at the same time. Here comes the photograph. There it is. This one was from up around Waubun, Minnesota, and so that's the storm that now is up near Bijou. This is a funnel cloud. And Timmy, what time was that picture made, approximately?
That didn't come with a time, but I would imagine that was probably from around the 4:15 time.
Okay, so an hour or so ago. So this is not what's happening right now. That storm at the moment is this storm. And there does appear to be a second rotating storm in the Mahnomen area right now. The storm that we've been watching, and the reason for this warning is for that heavy cell just to the east of Bijou. And let's put the velocity data on there. Whenever you see the red and the green close together, that's just a sign that we do have rotation. So the area that we are concerned about right now, if I draw this on here, you can see it with a little bit more distinctly, is actually going to be, I think this area right here bears some watching just south of Gregory, which I believe is a township there. And then we also have a little bit of concern of this area right here. There's just these little spin-ups have been fairly quick this afternoon, and so both of those areas I would say would be of some concern. Tornado warning is in effect until 5:15 for this particular storm in that area right around Bijou at this time. And as I said, there's another cell developing just to the south near Mahnomen. So you probably ought to be taking shelter if you don't have a good view of the sky in the area around Mahnomen for the potential of a tornado. The other situation up southwest of Crookston is the same sort of thing. That storm structurally just looks like it's probably falling apart, and I think the danger is greatly reduced, but there is, as I mentioned a moment ago, still a little bit of spin on Doppler. Now, the way Doppler radar works, these images are made, of course, out of Mayville, North Dakota. There's a computer process where it scans and does some computer calculations, and it also has to scan the complete circle around the radar for a minute or two. So as we bring these pictures to you, they're actually a few minutes old, 2, 3, 4 minutes old, and so things can change. The storm does appear to be deteriorating, but it still has spin, and so the potential for there still to be a tornado in that area near Bijou is still very real. That would be to the east of Climax and to the northwest of Beltrami. All right, let's large view this again for a time. Back to the west and north around Grand Forks and back through Devil's Lake and over eastern North Dakota. It's a steady stratiform type rain. No threat for severe weather in this region at the moment, although what's happening is, as this low pressure sits and stalls in the Fargo area, is that we're actually getting some clearing of skies that is progressing northward. And so basically, if you're in one of the areas that has developed sunny skies, there is a potential for a storm to develop in your location that could develop some of this spin and would be capable of producing a tornado. And it's for this reason that the Tornado Watch covers an area from approximately Grand Forks to the south to include Fargo and Wahpeton. I think the greatest concentration is in western Minnesota Lakes country. The northern fringe of this severe thunderstorm watch area is about the northern fringe of where that clearing area is, and it does seem to be moving north, so there is actually a chance that a tornado or a storm with some of this rotation could actually potentially outrun, if you will, the northern edge of this watch and get up into this area just a little bit. So we need to keep an eye on that, even though the severe thunderstorm watch. The rule with these watches is always the same, that the severe weather is possible in and near to the watch area. It looks like, as you look at the grand view of things this afternoon, that the southern part of this area right now doesn't really have any threat of severe weather. A little shower has formed west of Sisseton. We'll have to keep an eye on that for potential growth. Fargo, it's been fairly quiet. The day has become sunny and breezy. But if a storm were to develop to the southwest or south of Fargo, we'd have to be on the lookout for something. Right now, though, seems like we are in the clear for the moment. I would expect rain will build back in to the FM area later tonight, but severe weather does not seem to be a concern. All right, let's see what we've got for watches and warnings right now. The warning for the storm in southwest Polk County, which is actually, the storm is in that area in between Climax and Beltrami and Crookston, not in any of those towns. That storm seems to be fading fast, and I am growing less concerned about any potential for a tornado to form in that area. Right now, I am a little bit more concerned about this storm right now near Mahnomen. This is the one that the warning was actually issued for the storm that is now in the northern part of that advisory area, and that would be for this storm here. Right, we've got a tornado warning out for this storm because we have a tornado that did touch down and has been on the ground. I don't know if it's on the ground right now, but in that area just east of Bijou, southwest of Foston, now beginning to approach Highway 2 from the south, there is a history of tornadoes. But there's a new area of concern right in this region, just about over or just maybe a little bit east of the city of Mahnomen. There does appear to be a circulation in that area that is within the same within the same tornado warning area, and it looks like that storm may be developing, or at least would be capable of developing a tornado. So I would be concerned about that in the area just east of Mahnomen. These storms have been moving at a pretty good clip, probably some 30, 40 miles an hour. Well, that was you would estimate maybe.
Yeah, most have been moving around 30 miles an hour. It does look like they've kind of maybe picked up speed slightly.
All right, Timmy says they've been going about 30, 40 miles an hour, and with the circulation around this low, no storm is stationary, so they're definitely moving along at a pretty decent clip. So that means that as this storm continues to progress here, let's go back to the radar picture here, as this storm continues to progress here, we're going to likely see at 30 miles an hour, so we're going to likely see that thing moving to the north, and we fan out, of course, the potential for stormy weather as we move these systems along. And so we're not necessarily saying that there will be a tornado in any particular spot. These tornadoes that have popped up today have been quite small, interestingly enough. And that I think bears some mention. That doesn't mean they're not dangerous, it just means that the chance of actually being inside one of these is fairly limited. Nevertheless, it's a real threat, and we are continuing to monitor the situation. I'm going to go back to the velocity picture. There it goes. That's the one I wanted to show. Yeah, that rotation area just east of Mahnomen seems to be a little bit stronger or more well-developed than it was. And there also seems to be a little tiny couplet of rotation to the southeast of there. I'll show you what I'm looking at now. I'm doing this as I'm sort of watching the storm. So this is something that I think bears watching. Let's look at the actual storm data. No thunderstorm in that area. So the fact that we had red and green close together is probably relatively meaningless. I think what we're actually watching here for a potential tornado would be right about in this area, just a little bit east of Mahnomen. And let me erase those marks so you can see that storm system would in fact be moving in a northerly direction. That's the way it seems to be going right now, north or maybe just a little bit east of north. So we'll continue to monitor that situation. I've got a new picture I'm going to show you here in just a minute. I'm going to refresh that image, and let's look at this one. All right, this is near Ogama. Thanks to Patty for this photograph. This, again, a funnel cloud. Time on that one, Tim? About 4 o'clock. So that's that same storm system. Ogama, of course, is north of the Detroit Lakes area. And this is a funnel cloud. And you know what? A lot of because the atmosphere today, the weather is so cool, it's not incredibly humid. We've got a great deal of spin. So these storms are just loving their spinny nature today. And so we're probably getting a lot more funnel clouds than we're getting actual storms. So as we overview the entire situation, I don't really anticipate a huge number of tornadoes here within this tornado watch. Instead, what we're getting are limited, mostly fairly brief tornadoes. This storm, again, this one in Polk County, it really looks like it's fallen apart. It is still displaying a little bit of rotation, but I really think that tornado is likely fallen apart. Doesn't mean the storm won't redevelop, but if you live in the area between Beltrami and Climax, south of Crookston, at the moment, I'm not terribly concerned about what's going on in that storm. This is the one that we're watching. Let's zoom in very tightly on this. Looks like the tornado warning has been reissued. Let's see what this thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Monoman, moving north at about 25 or 30 miles an hour. So yes, that is a new tornado warning that has been issued for this area right around Monoman for that rotation that I've been showing you for the last 5 minutes or so, that you can see it continues to strengthen. Let me actually highlight that for you. It's this area right there, just east of Monoman. I don't think you're in any danger in the city of Monoman right now, but it's going to be just east of Monoman there on Highway 200. Right about now is where that rotation is, and it is moving to the north, maybe just a little bit east of north. That's why it's the red box that we're showing you here. That's for the Doppler indicated rotation and potential tornado. That's why the orientation of that box is kind of pointing up toward the northeast in the vague and general direction of Foston. Foston, you're not in danger right now, but this weather does seem to be coming into the general direction. If it were to continue to move on its present course, which I think is somewhat likely, and if it were to hold its strength, then this storm would likely be moving in the general direction, right, of the Foston area if it keeps on its present track. So folks in Foston, you should, no reason to take shelter right now, but you should definitely be keeping in touch with what's going on outside. The thing that's kind of nice about where we live is that we get great visibility. So if you're of a mind, you can go outside and observe the sky. Of course, if something starts to get a little freaky, that's when you need to take shelter. And right now, I would be doing that in the area just east and northeast of Monoman, in the area along Highway 200. Let's zoom in on that just a little bit, where we can see where that rotation is at its clearest. Let's put that back onto the Doppler image, and I'll zoom in on that same area. So we got some pretty heavy rain in this area as well, just to the north of Monoman, and the best bet for there being a tornado is just east of Monoman right now. I want to look at hail potential in this area. Let's see, I'm going to do that like this. I'm going to look at the hail size, and it is not that threatening. There's actually maybe some small hail just a little bit to the north. But the area around or just north of Monoman and just to the west of Gregory, probably some small to maybe nickel-size hail in those areas. But the main concern with this is these very small storms are producing tornadoes. They're quickly spinning up. All right, new report in Neillsville in Norman County. Law enforcement reporting a funnel cloud at 10 minutes after 4. That's near Neillsville in Norman County. A funnel trying to drop headed into Polk County. That is, let's see where we are here. That's this very storm that we're looking at right here. So. So a funnel cloud. That's why the tornado warning has been issued, because there is good rotation and potential for a funnel that is just east and northeast of Monoman, and that storm moving to the northeast at about 25 miles an hour. Zooming out the picture a little bit. the severe thunderstorm down here, this warning for Otter Tail County. Boy, that storm has really just fallen apart. It's actually redeveloped a little bit to the south, in between Henning and Wadena. Right now, just seeing what I'm seeing on Doppler, I'm not terribly concerned about this particular storm right now. I can put on the velocity data. It doesn't have a great deal of spin. I put on the hail indicator, and we're really not seeing much with that. Granted, this area is a long way from Mayville, so there could be something low to the ground that we're not seeing. And there is so much spin in the atmosphere that there's always some concern. I'm not seeing anything that alarming at the moment with this particular storm that is approaching Wadena now. It's actually outside the severe thunderstorm warning area. So that severe thunderstorm warning in Otter Tail County, it's in effect until 5:30. Right now, I'm going to write that one off. I'm not too worried about that. So at the present time, the only real storm that we're watching is near Monoman. And it very likely is producing a funnel cloud. Probably it has produced a funnel cloud and will be capable of generating a tornado at just about any time. Probably not in the city of Monoman unless something surprising happens. Look at that now. In the last couple of images, you see how the radar has developed a little bit of a tail, a little bit of a point, right about where the E is. Pardon me one second. Right about where the E is. In the city label of Monoman, that is actually east of the city. That's a sign of inflow, and what you're actually seeing is the inflow is forming a tail, and that tail is a condensation, so it's cloud, and it probably looks from the ground like a kind of like a funnel, but it's more horizontal to the ground if you can see it from the south or from the south and east. And that's not a tornado. That is actually the tail cloud, which is inflow that is coming into the storm. That appears to be getting larger, which is a sign that this storm just north of Monoman continues to develop some inflow, and I think does continue to bear watching. This again is the look at the velocity on that storm, and yes, we are definitely seeing northeast of Monoman a good velocity couplet. The severe thunderstorm warning that I just mentioned for Otter Tail and Becker County, the National Weather Service just canceled it. So we were right on the idea to not be worried about that. At the moment, there's really just one area of concern, and it's this area between Monoman and Bijou, actually probably just a little bit east of Monoman and a little bit east of Bijou. In this area that is that has strong rotation, it has produced, this storm has produced a funnel cloud. So in this area of open country northeast of Monoman, north of Highway 200, be prepared to, if you can't see the cloud and if you start hearing that roar or heavy rain coming into your area, or you get heavy rain and then the rain mysteriously stops, those are both clues that you need to be taking shelter immediately. If you're just uncertain of the weather, there's absolutely no reason for anyone to there's no reason for anyone to be taking shelter if there isn't anything really dangerous going on where you are, where you can see it. However, we are very suspicious of this area just to the north and east of Monoman. So I'm asking one of my cohorts here to explain what he means by that message he just gave to me.
Oh, those are previous reports from earlier.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Just some earlier tornado reports. So, yeah, we do know we had just to review today, we know I'm going to zoom out the picture just a little bit. Let's go to the overview. There we go. We do know we've had a tornado that touched down at Lake Park, about 3 miles north of Lake Park, briefly. We had a tornado touch down 6 miles west of Callaway. We've had a number of funnel clouds reported around the region, including one as far back to the west as in Gardner, North Dakota. Right now, you can see I'm looking at the last 6 hours of Doppler radar, and all of this rain that stretches from International Falls through north of Grand Forks and Devil's Lake and back through eastern North Dakota, that's just rain, folks. There's some strong winds and some of that across eastern North Dakota, but that's just a low pressure area wind, synoptic scale wind. That has nothing to do with these tornadoes. The atmosphere became unstable south and east of Grand Forks in this region, and the little thunder showers that have developed in this area, mostly north of Highway 10 and mostly mostly east of the Red River, so in Minnesota and north of Highway 10 is where we just have just that right combination of enough spin in the atmosphere and just barely enough instability for these spin-ups to have been producing some tornadoes. Nobody's gotten hurt today that we know of. I don't think any of these so far have actually done damage or touched structures, so I'm a little more relaxed about that. I'm going to zoom in one more time on this potential tornado north of Monoman. There's the storm, tornado warning, and that one is in effect. It was just recently reissued. That storm from in between north of Monoman up to just south of the Foston area, that tornado warning is in effect until 6 o'clock. So we're going to stay on that one for just a few minutes longer. I want to look at the velocity data and see if it's looking any stronger. Still looking pretty good. Indication from spotters in the area or that it has produced a funnel cloud, and it would be capable, perhaps, of touching down. That is in, for the most part, open country north of Bonoman. But when we say open country, that doesn't mean there aren't people. It just means that's not a village or a city or a town. There certainly are people in this area, and that's why we are sticking to our programming for at least a little bit longer. This type of storm situation, I've been doing this for a long time, this type of storm situation where the weather is kind of marginally dangerous, where it's not very hot, it's not very humid, but we've got a great deal of spin. More often than not, these end up yielding more funnel clouds than tornadoes. But because some of these have touched down, we obviously have some danger today. If they are touching down, of course, we don't have any ratings. We don't know how violent the winds are rotating. You really can't tell by just looking at a rotating funnel just how violent it is. Some are clearly, obviously dangerous. That's when they're picking up debris and you can see all that. I've not seen that in any of the pictures that I've seen today, but the situation is still volatile and bears watching. Nevertheless, my anticipation here as the sun fades, especially as the sun gets low in the sky, and with all this cold stratiform rain out to the west, thick clouds, I think what's going to happen is these storms are going to lose their punch fairly early this evening. So we're not likely to be dealing this all night long. But for the moment, we continue to monitor the storm situation. It appears to me that I'm reiterating, but it's important that we do this because, you know, some people have not been watching WDAY all afternoon. Some people, a storm has just now moved into their area. They're just becoming aware of it. And so we need to let people know what's going on as they tune in. That's why we stay on the air during these tornado situations. And we do currently have a tornado warning for the area from just north of Bonoman to just south of Foston for a storm cell that is moving to the northwest at about 25 miles an hour. It has produced a funnel cloud north of Monoman, and it still has pretty good structure in that area. There's also quite a bit of lightning in that storm. It may just stay as a funnel cloud, but it's quite possible that in this area it could touch down sometime in the next few minutes or so. The tornado warning does remain in effect. Let me check the hail parameters in that area. That continues to be kind of steady state. So it's just a matter of what we're seeing on the ground. Information from the National Weather Service from 4 miles northwest of Beltrami. In just the last few minutes, let's go back to the velocity data. That one. All right. From 4 miles northwest of Beltrami, this was just a few minutes ago. Getting my... The statement was, train spotter reported 2 tornadoes forming from one with multiple vortices. That is in that area 4 miles northwest of Beltrami in Polk County. So let's see if we can focus in on this area right now. And, we continue to see the rotation in this area. So that was a report from 4:52. So that's like 40 minutes ago. Okay, so that situation has probably passed. The latest storm report, tornado with intermittent touchdowns near Waban, Minnesota, and that was about 4:30. So again, we continue to see evidence that these tornadoes and these funnel clouds present some danger. The one that we're watching right now, and the only one of concern right now, there really are 2 areas of circulation. It's this region just north of Monoman and just northeast of Bijou, where there are 2 areas that are showing some strong rotation. There are, in fact, 2 thunderstorms in that area, one just north of the other. Both of them are spinning like crazy on radar, hence the tornado warning in this area. So far, all we've known for certain is that this has produced funnel clouds, but it certainly is rotating, as I mentioned, like crazy. And I noticed the storm is kind of back back building a little bit into that area right around Monoman. That probably bears watching as well. Yeah, the area just right around Monoman continues to be of some concerns that there could be an additional spin up. See, because we sometimes have been seeing more than one. So that's this area. Now I'm seeing potential here just to the south. Again, that area just east of Monoman. This entire region, I would say, would be capable. Let me draw a picture so you can see. I keep saying this. Let me explain what I'm talking about. This area right in here. It looks like I'm maybe seeing two spin-ups within that area, either of which is probably producing a funnel cloud and would be capable of a tornado. So this is the area of concern right now. Mostly open country from just outside to the east and north of Monoman, to the north up toward Bijou. If you live in Monoman, you should be able to get out and see this. Obviously, if it's right overhead and you see spinning motion, you want to go back inside and take shelter, as a tornado would be possible. If you can see it and watch it, you know, a funnel cloud that's up in the sky is not going to hurt you until it lowers to the ground. A little bit of clarification on what a tornado is, and I think as we go over the overview this afternoon, it's worth pointing this out. A tornado is a violently rotating vortex of wind in contact with the ground. So a funnel cloud is not a tornado. It's not a tornado until it touches the ground. But all a tornado is wind. Sometimes there will be a funnel cloud, and that's the condensation funnel. That's cloud material. But sometimes there is an actual tornado, which is defined by wind. That tornado can be in contact with the ground, but it's not visible. And sometimes the only way to see the lower part of a tornado that's in contact with the ground is if, in fact, there is some debris. Or otherwise, we just warn on them and you take shelter as need be. Let's go back to what we're seeing with the velocity data on that storm. Still looking quite healthy. Velocity data in that area just north of Monoman. Spotters continue to report continue to report funnel clouds in this area of southern Polk County and the area just north of Monoman. So this is an area of concern. It's the only tornado warning that we have. It's the only warned storm. I'm going to go back to the display that will actually show the rain. In other words, this is what you're usually seeing with Doppler. And so I had been looking at the velocity data because the most important thing of this is spin. But you'll notice this storm just north of Monoman right now, it's actually turned into a pretty hearty thunderstorm right now. And in fact, it is just that. And it's much stronger and taller than all of the storms around it. And it doesn't look like it has a great, tremendous hail indicator on it. If you're curious, the top of this storm is only at about 34,000 feet, something like that. So this is what we would call a classic low-topped thunderstorm. In other words, if we didn't have so much rotation in the air today, this would just be a little shower with a little rumble of thunder in it. But it's got excellent structure because the overall atmosphere has so much built-in spin today that this storm is able to produce all the spin. It continues at the moment, although it looks very good on radar in terms of its velocity, and we do have a little bit of a tail coming out just east of Monoman. We continue to get reports from this area that are really nothing but funnel clouds. So my sense is that we'll watch this another couple of minutes, and if I don't see anything really bad developing, presuming this continues to move north and away from Monoman, we'll end this and go back to regular programming. For those who are listening, I am at this point anticipating that our 6 o'clock news will come on without a hitch because I really don't anticipate this stuff is going to go on all evening. If there is still some weather going on during the 6 o'clock news, of course, we can bring it to you during the newscast, but I don't really anticipate this severe weather lasting all evening long. There's the one storm we're watching right now north of Monoman. Its velocity data is not that picture, it is this picture. This velocity data is still indicating very good rotation. Emergency management area reporting, nothing new. We're just seeing all we've seen for certain is funnel clouds. You guys have anything new to report? Any new ideas? Okay. I got meteorologist Tim Albertson is here, and meteorologist Bobby, what's your last name?
Pointer.
Sorry, I'm an old man and I forget names. Robert Pointer is here as well. They were the ones who started the severe coverage this afternoon until I came in to take over. And I still don't like what I'm seeing. It's still just, I'm a little cautious of breaking away. You know what? We've been covering this severe weather so long this afternoon. Let's stick with this storm just a little bit longer. Here you're looking at estimated hail. This is looking like small hail at the worst. Again, the overall atmosphere does not seem to be conducive to a great deal of severe weather. Two things can happen. When you've got the structure of a tornado, especially in these atmospheres that don't have a tremendous amount of instability, two things can happen. You can get some isolated, localized, strong damaging winds. That would be like in the form of a microburst wind, and that would likely be on the south side of all this, which could be near or just east or northeast of Monoman, if that were to develop. And we'd start looking for that, especially if we started to see the heavy rain core begin to diminish and become weak. That would be a sign that that final rain shaft dropping down could bring down some strong winds. That would be something we would watch for. And that would be a concern, I think, over the next 20 minutes north of Monoman. And the other concern is obviously that one of these funnel clouds touches down. That would be in the area north of the town of Monoman, I suspect, if it were to do so. Right now, you folks in Foston, you're watching all this to your south. Right now, there's no immediate concern in Foston. The storm is very likely going to weaken a little bit, but it may not. So, stay with us. We'll continue to monitor the situation. Just reading a new report here that just came in. Again, this report is about an hour old, but the storm report from 4 miles northwest of Lockhart in Monoman County, emergency manager there did report a confirmed tornado near Lockhart that went through a tree grove. And they're going to survey for potential damage at that time in the area of 4 miles northwest of Lockhart. The only reason to look for damage is to find out what kind of a strength the tornado had. So good news there that whatever that was very likely in an unpopulated area, as most of these continue to be. This storm just a little too close to Monoman for me to be comfortable about it right now. And the storm has dropped a little bit further to the north. There's the velocity. Yeah, I think Monoman, you seem to be out of danger right now. We've still got a little bit of that mid-level rotation in the storm, and that's probably capable of a funnel cloud. I don't know if it's producing a tornado. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to, I see a new report has just come in, not confirmed, preliminary report of a rotating wall cloud near Beaulieu, Minnesota. And that was at that was a few minutes ago, but maybe close enough that so a rotating wall cloud. Yeah, that's kind of what we've been seeing. So in this area just to the northwest of Beaulieu, which is northeast of Monoman, there again appears to be a little bit of a strong indication of rotation. And a rotating wall cloud is one that could certainly produce a funnel cloud or a tornado at any time. We don't have any truth of that at this present time. All right, folks, here's what we're going to do. Overall situation is this. I think in general, the situation is beginning to fade just a little bit, although we still have a couple of danger areas. The storm that I just mentioned, let's go back to this image that we've been watching. We have a tornado warning for this area from just north of Monoman through Beaulieu up to just south of Foston. That warning is in effect until 6 o'clock. And we do have a kind of a vigorous little cluster of storms here on the northeast corner of Otter Tail County. No warnings on them at the present time. And folks, that's really about it. We do have a tornado watch for a large part of the area, but the only storm that we're really concerned about right now is north of Monoman. Because I don't have any new information for you, I don't want to just continue to repeat. The storm is open area north of Monoman, moving north. If it approaches any communities, if it drops a tornado, we'll cut back in and let you know. But for now, we're going to send it back to regular programming. We will continue to monitor the situation. And of course, our news will have full weather coverage of these storms for you tonight at 6 o'clock. Thanks for watching and for your patience. I'm Storm Tracker Meteorologist John Wheeler.